We begin this story with the protagonist, a very powerful necromancer called the God of Corpses, who, for a long time, was in charge of tormenting the lives of humans, attacking and killing them, and later turning them into zombies and using them in battle. However, when the church finds out about his existence and the danger he represented to humans, they take matters into their own hands and gather a group of very powerful heroes, led by the most talented knight in the country, whose name was Shagrua. After a long battle with the corpse god subjects, the church is able to reach the monster's lair, and quickly, they are attacked by it, losing a considerable part of their troops in a very short time. Several minutes later, after being overcome, for the creature, the soldiers ask the hero for help, who enters the battle, along with several spellcasters in charge of enhancing his abilities. And with no time to lose, he faces the corpse god, activating his evil eye, an ability that allows him see the souls of others, as well as the spirit of those who have died in the form of ghosts, and when looking at the monster, he observes a countless number of souls circulating around his body, and in the midst of the battle, he judged for having used the evil eye, since the corpse god also has the ability to do his thing and play with the souls of the dead without remorse, a very different path from the one Shagrua traveled, who at the time of understanding his ability when he was little, he decided to become a hero for others and make the world a better place, where children can enjoy a life full of peace, without wars or conflicts that affect them at any time, becoming an ally of the church sometime later, to rise up against those who could threaten the tranquility of the people, being totally opposite to the corpse god, who sees the lives of humans as simple toys to pass the time, caring only for small children, especially those who died at an early age and became wandering souls. After several minutes of combat, Shagrua he can stop the advance of the creature with his own skills, while his enemy begins to use forbidden spells, never seen before by the church, managing to kill another part of the soldiers, but thanks to the help of the sorcerers, Shagrua, which increases its capabilities, can compete with the monster, and they exchange attacks, to finally give everything in a direct confrontation, in which, with the support of the magicians, Shagrua ends up defeating it. However, before being defeated, the monster activates a hidden spell, which at first glance seemed not to have worked, but which, secretly, managed to fulfill its function, since he wakes up in a strange place, and in a totally foreign body, which was in a dark alley, hinting that his last spell, called Reincarnation, had become a complete success. Before leaving the alley, he notices his new body, which belonged to an ordinary high school student. As he leaves outside, he comes across a world totally different from the one he knew, being amazed by the technology around him and the peaceful environment of the place. Near his location, a small drone that is monitored by someone not far from the area, which he begins to follow stealthily, and when the device's camera captures his body, the man who controls him communicates with someone and mentions that his target is walking as if nothing had happened, despite having a lethal wound in his throat, which should be having put an end to this. On the other hand, the corpse god, who walks through the streets observing the posters around him and the curious buildings of the site, is stopped by two police officers who, upon seeing the wound on his throat, immediately ask him if he wants medical assistance. Despite not having heard the language before, the corpse god begins to compile the information stored in the brain of his new body, understanding the language and obtaining in the process details about the person he is now in, which was an ordinary boy who loved video games named Polka Shinoyama. When the police look at the wound again, they notice that it has stopped bleeding, and when they are about to take him to the station to interrogate him, a mysterious girl appears and intervenes in the conversation, sounding like someone close to Polka, and tells him away from the police, dragging him towards a dark alley to lose them. After completely making sure that there was no one else around, the mysterious girl introduces herself as Misaki, and at the moment of hearing her name, the corpse god has several fragments of the past stored in Polka's memory, where he apparently spoke casually with the girl, and suddenly, she immobilizes him, and asks him how he survived, if he had made sure to give her a fatal blow. Immediately afterwards, she pulls out a weapon that fits perfectly with the wound on Polka's body, and it is here where he remembers that the woman had been the cause of the wound in his throat. After understanding everything, the corpse decides to flee and tries to hide somewhere, in vain, since he was followed by Takumi, the one who operated the drone, and indicated its position to Misaki, to ensure this time the elimination of Polka, who had been chosen by someone from the underworld as a target to eliminate. Meanwhile, the corpse that did not understood nothing of what was happening, he ends up in an abandoned building where he tries to use his abilities, but this is in vain, since unlike his world, the place he is in lacks magic and elemental power. While the corpse was looking for some way to defeat Misaki, remembering the fact of being in a human body, being disturbed by the thought of not being able to defend itself and unlike before, dying definitively without having another chance. A few minutes later, Misaki appears silently through a window of the building, taking our protagonist by surprise and managing to wound him with one of his knives. After a short fight, feeling that his life is about to end, the corpse remembers the children he saw previously while touring the city, and mentions who will not let go of the possibility of achieving the happiness that he did not obtain in his previous life. Then, he grabs the knife in his leg and throws it towards where Misaki is, as a distraction to escape. After running for a few minutes, he reaches a dark room that stored some apparently normal objects, but before he can hide, he is surprised again by Misaki, who tells him that the place where they are had been used by members of the Mafia as a torture room years ago, mentioning the possibility that ghosts live in the place. Then Misaki throws a knife at him again, which hits an area of his leg, and before he can finish with it, the corpse decides to activate his evil eye, which he could use, since it was an ability chained directly to the user's soul, managing to observe several souls who had indeed not been able to rest, and who, just as in his previous world, were discarded by other people who saw them only as entertainment toys. When Misaki launches the attack, the corpse mentions that except for him, no one should judge others, managing to recover his powers at the moment of gathering the energy of the souls that they were in the room, invoking a part of their true body, which easily passes through Misaki, mortally wounding her.